At my sister's wedding, the bride seated me at the back table. I canceled the gift check and walked out. Okay, so let me tell you about the day I watched my own sister, on her wedding day, treat me like a total stranger after I'd poured my heart, soul, and practically every last dime into making her perfect day a reality. It was a gut-wrenching betrayal, but what happened next, that's when things truly spiraled into a jaw-dropping nightmare, one that ended with police, an annulment, and a very public downfall. The story asterisk picture this. I arrive at the Four Seasons Ballroom, buzzing with wedding day chaos, in this emerald bridesmaid dress I was supposed to be wearing. But the second I saw my name card, my stomach dropped. Table 17. Tucked against the back wall. Next to the clanking kitchen doors, where the shouted orders from the catering staff drowned out the string quartet. Meanwhile, Jessica had perched her college sorority sisters, women she hadn't spoken to in 5 years until her engagement announcement, at table 2. Right next to our parents. My best friend, Taylor, who'd driven 3 hours to be there, found me just staring at the seating chart, feeling like this dress was a costume for a role I definitely wasn't playing. She just shook her head. Table 17? Are you kidding me? She put Ryan's fantasy football league at table 6. People he sees twice a year are closer to the family than you are. And then it all crashed down on me, the last 6 months. Every single Saturday I'd spent helping Jessica address invitations because she was too stressed. The $2,000 I'd loaned her for dress alterations because she miscalculated the budget. The countless hours I'd devoted to calling vendors, negotiating prices, solving last-minute crises because she'd begged me to be her right hand in planning. I mean, I spent my vacation days helping her plan this wedding. I paid for half the flowers in this room, I said quietly to Taylor, my voice steady despite the rage bubbling up inside me. And she put me at the table for people she barely knows. Taylor was ready to bail. We're leaving. This is insane. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to look my sister in the eye. I found Jessica in the bridal suite, practically radiating, surrounded by her actual bridesmaids, none of whom were me, even though I'm her only sister. She was laughing, her massive diamond catching the light as she gestured wildly. Jessica, can I talk to you for a second? The laughter died. Her eyes flickered to me, then away, a flash of guilt, quickly replaced by defensive irritation. Audrey, I'm kind of busy right now. Photos in 20 minutes. This will only take a minute. It's about the seating arrangement. That's when Stephanie, one of the bridesmaids who'd stolen Jessica's boyfriend in college, but they were totally over it now, smirked. Oh, you saw that? Yeah, it was a tough call with limited space at the family tables. Limited space? I repeated slowly. For her sister? You found space for your yoga instructor and Ryan's coworkers from his old job. But not for your sister. Jessica's jaw tightened. She stood, smoothing her dress with deliberate, icy care. Can we not do this right now? This is my wedding day. Then when should we do this? After I've spent the entire reception watching strangers sit where I should be. Her voice took on that dismissive tone she'd perfected over the years, the one that made me feel like a child. You're being dramatic. The seating arrangement is final. I spent weeks on it. Weeks you apparently didn't think to mention that your own sister wasn't a priority. Stephanie stepped forward, positioning herself like a bodyguard. Maybe if you'd been more supportive during the planning instead of questioning every decision, you'd have earned a better seat. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. Supportive? I was practically her shadow. I'd taken time off work, hunted down vintage decorations from Pinterest, loaned her money 3 different times. I've done nothing but support you, I said, looking directly at Jessica. What exactly did I do to deserve being treated like a stranger? Her expression turned cold. You want the truth? Fine. You've been hovering and controlling this entire time. Every suggestion I made, you had to put in your 2 cents. This is my wedding, Audrey. Not yours. The words hit like physical blows. My voice cracked. I was trying to help you. Well, I didn't ask for that kind of help. And honestly, I'm closer to these women now. They've been there for me without judgment. The betrayal was stunning. These women she'd known for less than a year. But I'd been there for 31 years, through bad breakups, job losses, financial disasters. So that's it? Years of sisterhood means nothing because I tried to save you from making expensive mistakes. Jessica threw up her hands. This right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You always think you know better. Well, guess what? I'm getting married today, and for once, I get to make the decisions, including who sits where. The other bridesmaids were practically salivating. I took a deep breath, forcing down the tears. You know what? You're right. This is your day. Your decisions. I hope you enjoy it. I turned and walked out, my heels clicking a furious rhythm on the marble. Taylor was waiting, eyes blazing. Please tell me we're leaving. Not yet, I said, pulling out my phone. I need to make a withdrawal first. The gift table was overflowing. I spotted my cream envelope, the one with the check for $5,000 inside. $5,000 I'd saved for 6 months, cutting back on everything so they could have a down payment on their dream house. But that was when I'd thought I mattered to her. I picked up the envelope, removed the check, and with deliberate, satisfying precision, I tore it. In half, then quarters, then eighths. Confetti. I dumped the pieces back into the envelope and placed it prominently back on the table. Feel better? Taylor asked. Not yet, I said, pulling up my email. But I will. 3 weeks prior, after another fight where Jessica had accused me of being jealous, I'd made a decision. I'd hired a private investigator. Not for anything sinister, just to understand my sister's mindset. What I discovered was illuminating. Screenshots of group chats where she called me a control freak and photos of her complaining about me. But most valuable of all, I had a complete list of every vendor for this wedding. Because I'd been the one to contact most of them. I opened my email and started typing. The first message went to the florist. Hi, Marie. This is Audrey Mitchell. I need to inform you that I'm withdrawing my guarantee on the Mitchell-Clark wedding account. Any outstanding balance should be collected directly from the couple. Then the photographer, the videographer, the cake designer, the lighting company, the ceremony musician. I didn't cancel anything. That would be too obvious. I simply removed myself as the financial backup. Every vendor who'd been told Audrey Mitchell will handle any issues now knew I was stepping away. Are you sure about this? Taylor asked, reading over my shoulder. I hit send on the last email. My sister just told me I'm not family enough to sit at the family table. So yes, I'm sure. We walked out of the Four Seasons into the bright June sunlight. Behind us, I heard the string quartet begin the processional music. In about an hour, Jessica would go looking for that envelope with my check and find confetti instead. And by tonight, when the vendors started calling, she'd realize exactly how much her controlling sister had actually been protecting her. What now? Taylor asked. Now, I said, a genuine smile finally crossing my face, we go get brunch somewhere expensive. I suddenly have an extra $5,000 in my budget. My phone buzzed before we reached the car. A text from my mother. Where are you? Ceremony is about to start. I turned off my phone. They'd figure it out soon enough. My phone stayed off for exactly 4 hours. Taylor and I were finishing our second bottle of champagne at a rooftop restaurant downtown when the messages started flooding in. 17 missed calls from my mother. 9 from my father. 3 from Jessica's new number. She'd blocked me on her old one months ago. And text messages. So many text messages. Mom, Audrey Elizabeth Mitchell, where are you? Mom, your sister is devastated. The ceremony had to be delayed. Mom, this is unacceptable behavior. Call me immediately. Dad, we need to talk about what happened today. Jessica, you're a spiteful expletive, and everyone knows it now. Jessica, I hope you're proud of yourself for ruining my wedding. And then, 3 hours later, a very different tone. Mom, Audrey, we need you to call us back. There's been some confusion with the vendors. That message made me smile into my champagne glass. Taylor leaned over. Confusion with the vendors. That's one way to put it. My phone rang. My mother's name flashed. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Audrey, I don't know what you've done, but the florist just pulled half the arrangements. The photographer is refusing to shoot the reception without immediate payment. Your father is trying to handle it, but... Her voice cracked. We need you to explain what's happening. Please call back. Are you going to call? Taylor asked. Eventually, I said, topping off our glasses. But not yet. Let them figure it out themselves for a while. What they were figuring out was the house of cards I'd been holding up for 6 months. Every time Jessica had said, "I'll pay you back next week," I'd known she wouldn't. Every time she'd promised a vendor, "My sister is handling the deposit," I'd been the one to actually pay it. I'd covered $1,200 for the ceremony musicians because Jessica forgot. I'd paid $800 to hold the florist's date because Jessica spent that money on her bachelorette party in Nashville. The photographer had a $2,000 balance I'd promised to cover after the wedding because Jessica needed that money for the honeymoon. I'd been her safety net, her backup plan, her solution to every financial disaster she'd created, and she'd repaid me by treating me like an unwanted guest. Now the net was gone. My father called again. I considered ignoring it, but something made me answer. "Dad." "Audrey." His voice was tight with stress. "Where are you?" "Your mother is beside herself." "I'm having lunch." Jessica asked me not to hover, so I'm giving her space. "Don't play games. You know exactly what's happening. The vendors are all saying you told them to demand immediate payment. The florist removed half the centerpieces. The photographer is threatening to leave." "That sounds stressful," I said calmly. "Have you tried calling Jessica and Ryan? It's their wedding after all. Their decisions." Silence. "What did your sister say to you?" he finally asked. "You really want to know? Or would you prefer I stay quiet and keep playing ATM for everyone?" "Audrey," he implored. "She told me I'm controlling. That I ruined her planning experience by trying to help. That she's closer to women she's known for 6 months than she is to her own sister." My voice remained steady, years of corporate meetings teaching me how to deliver devastating information without emotion. And then she sat me at table 17 with strangers while her yoga instructor got a family table seat. So I removed myself from the situation, exactly like she wanted. By stopping financial support I was never obligated to provide in the first place. I took a sip of champagne. "Every vendor calling you right now?" I guaranteed their payments personally because Jessica couldn't afford this wedding. She wanted a $75,000 Four Seasons event on a $32,000 annual salary. The math doesn't work, Dad. It never did. I was just too stupid to let her fail. Another long silence. "How much did you cover? Does it matter?" She made it clear I'm not really family, so I'm no longer acting like I am. "Your mother is crying. Jessica is locked in the bathroom. This is a disaster." Then maybe Jessica should have thought about that before publicly humiliating the person funding half her dream wedding. I ended the call. Taylor looked at me with something like awe. That was ice cold. My hands were shaking. No matter how justified I felt, this was still my family. The doubt lasted approximately 2 minutes. Then another text came through, this one from Stephanie, Jessica's bridesmaid. "You're a jealous cow who couldn't stand seeing Jessica happy. Everyone here knows what you are." I showed it to Taylor, who snatched my phone and typed a response. "Tell Jessica that jealousy is a poor excuse for her financial irresponsibility. The vendors I personally paid deserve their money. She can figure out how to cover what she owes." The reply was instant. "She's refunding your gift. She doesn't want your money." Taylor typed back, "Check the envelope. Already took it back. Unlike your bride, I believe in withdrawing support clearly and directly." No response to that. My phone buzzed with an email notification. "Marie the florist. Thank you for the update, Audrey. I've adjusted the account accordingly. For what it's worth, you were always the professional one to work with. I'm sorry things ended this way." Professional. That word stuck with me. I'd treated Jessica's wedding like a project, managing vendors with efficiency, but I'd done it out of love. She'd mistaken competence for control. My father called back. I let it go to voicemail. Then my mother. Then Jessica herself, 3 times in rapid succession. The messages piled up. "Dad, we're handling the vendor situation, but you need to come back." "Mom, how could you do this to family?" "Jessica, you've always been jealous of me." "Jessica, everyone here sees you for what you are now." "Jessica, I'm never forgiving this." That last message should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I felt something like relief. If Jessica was never forgiving this, then I was free. Free from being her backup bank account. Free from being blamed for trying to help. Free from spending my energy on someone who saw me as an obstacle rather than an ally. Want to know what's really messed up? I asked Taylor. Not once has she apologized for the seating arrangement. Not once has anyone acknowledged that maybe, possibly, I had a reason to be hurt. Because in their minds, Taylor said, family means you're supposed to take whatever they dish out and smile about it. A new email arrived from David, the photographer. Audrey, the bride's father, just paid the balance in full. I'll be staying for the reception. I wanted you to know I appreciate the professionalism you showed throughout this process. The industry could use more clients like you. My father had covered it. Probably several $1,000s on the spot. Money he and Mom had been saving for their anniversary trip to Italy. Money that should have been Jessica's responsibility. But I was the villain for not continuing to enable her. 3 hours after the ceremony was supposed to start, my mother sent a photo. Jessica and Ryan at the altar, finally married. My sister looked radiant, smiling at her new husband. No sign of the chaos. No sign that I had ever existed. She got her perfect photo, I said softly. Taylor squeezed my hand. And you got your freedom. My phone rang again. An unknown number. Audrey Mitchell, a professional, slightly apologetic woman's voice. Speaking. This is Jennifer from Elite Catering. We've received your email withdrawing your guarantee, but we have a significant balance due, $3,400 for upgraded menu selections and the additional bar package. The mother of the bride just informed us we should bill you directly. My grip tightened. Let me be very clear, Jennifer. I'm not paying for anything related to this wedding. Any charges should be directed to the bride and groom. Coordinating at the bride's request is not the same as agreeing to pay. Send your invoices to Jessica and Ryan Clark. I ended the call. They were trying to stick me with even more bills. What was that? Taylor asked. The caterer, trying to make me pay for upgraded options Jessica chose. I pulled up my email and started drafting a message to every vendor I'd worked with. I needed to get ahead of this. This message confirms that I have no financial responsibility for the Mitchell-Clark wedding beyond amounts I have already personally paid in advance. Any unpaid balances should be collected directly from Jessica Clark and Ryan Clark. Please do not submit any invoices to me. Within 20 minutes, I received 3 responses, all professional, all understanding, and all confirming they'd already been contacted by my mother, trying to get them to bill me. My own mother was trying to make me pay for a wedding where I'd been treated like an afterthought. The sun was setting over Chicago when my father called again. This time I answered. Audrey, we need to discuss this situation like adults. I agree. Let's start with why Mom is telling vendors to bill me for services I never agreed to pay for. Silence. She's emotional. She's not thinking clearly. She's thinking clearly enough to try to dump thousands of dollars in bills on me. So, let me be equally clear, I'm not paying for anything else. Nothing. Jessica wanted this wedding. She can figure out how to pay for it. She can't afford it. You know that. Then she should have planned a wedding she could afford instead of expecting me to fund her fantasy. My voice rose. Do you have any idea how much money I've spent on this wedding? How many hours? And my reward was being told I'm controlling and getting seated with strangers. Your sister is young. She made a mistake. She's 31 years old, Dad. That's not young. That's old enough to understand actions have consequences. So, you're punishing her. No, Dad. I'm simply not rewarding her. There's a difference. He sighed. The reception is starting in an hour. Your absence is noticeable. People are asking questions. Tell them I had a prior commitment. Tell them I'm sick. Tell them whatever you want. I'm done pretending everything is fine when it's not. Your mother wants you here. My mother wants me to keep funding Jessica's choices and accepting poor treatment. Those aren't the same thing as wanting me here. I watched the sun sink lower. I love you, Dad. But I'm not coming back tonight. Maybe not ever, depending on how this plays out. You don't mean that. But I did. For the first time in my life, I meant it completely. The calls stopped around midnight. My phone held 43 unread messages, but I'd stopped checking. At 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and opened my laptop. The private investigator's report was saved in a password-protected folder. 3 weeks of surveillance that cost me $2,800, but told me everything I needed to know about who my sister really was. The screenshots of group chats were the worst. Jessica to her college friends, Audrey's been up my ass about every detail. She thinks because she has a real job, she knows better than me about my wedding. Jessica to Ryan's sister, I swear she's trying to sabotage things so she can feel superior. Classic older sister jealousy. But the most damning evidence wasn't about me at all. It was about money. The PI had discovered that Jessica had been telling people I'd offered to pay for the entire wedding. She'd shown friends fake text messages, doctored screenshots where my "let me help with the deposit" became "I'll cover all the wedding expenses." She'd been running a long con, positioning herself as the generous sister with the successful sibling bankrolling her dream day. And when I'd started questioning expenses, I'd become the villain going back on a promise I'd never made. I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd been secretly maintaining. Every dollar I'd loaned Jessica over the past 5 years, $500 for car repair, $800 for a medical bill, $2,200 for first month's rent. The list continued for pages. Total amount loaned, $31,400. Total amount repaid, 0. The wedding expenses were separate, $9,500 in direct payments, plus the $5,000 gift check I'd torn up. My sister owed me over $40,000. And she'd repaid me by seating me with strangers and calling me controlling. At 3 a.m., I started drafting an email. Not to Jessica, she wouldn't listen. Not to my parents, they'd chosen their side. This email was going to someone who might actually care about the truth. Marie, the florist, had mentioned she was part of a wedding vendor networking group. David, the photographer, was active on social media. These vendors talked to each other, warned each other. My sister wanted to burn me publicly. I could do the same. Armed with nothing but facts, the email laid out the timeline professionally. I attached screenshots of Jessica's group chats, documentation of every payment. I sent it to Marie and David with a simple note. You both mentioned the vendor community shares information about difficult clients. I thought you should have the complete picture about the Mitchell-Clark wedding. My phone buzzed. Marie's response came through at 3:47 a.m. Audrey, I'm sorry you went through this. I've already shared your situation with our vendor network. The wedding industry is small and reputation matters. Thank you for the documentation. It will help others avoid similar situations. By sunrise, I'd received 4 more responses from vendors, all sympathetic, all confirming they'd shared the information. Jessica had wanted a 4 seasons wedding to impress her friends. What she'd get instead was a reputation in the Chicago wedding industry as someone who didn't pay bills and blamed others. Taylor knocked softly on the guest room door at 7 a.m., carrying coffee. You're awake early. Never went to sleep. I showed her my laptop screen. You're building a case. I'm protecting myself. Mom tried to make vendors bill me yesterday. What happens next month when Jessica needs money and decides I owe her? But this is going to make things worse with your family. You know that, right? Things can't get worse. They either acknowledge I was treated unfairly or they don't. If they don't, then I don't have a family worth protecting anyway. My phone rang. My mother, calling before 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I put it on speaker. Audrey, we need to talk about your behavior yesterday. Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't be flippant. Your sister spent last night in tears because of what you did. You deliberately sabotaged her wedding out of spite. Mom, I withdrew financial support from vendors I had personally guaranteed. That's not sabotage. That's ending my involvement in a wedding where I was told I wasn't wanted. You were wanted. Your family. Family who got seated at table 17 while Jessica's yoga instructor sat at table 2. Family who was told she's too controlling for trying to help. Is that kind of wanted? Your sister was stressed. She didn't mean those things. She meant them enough to say them in front of her bridesmaids. She meant them enough to act on them. Let me ask you something, Mom. How much of that wedding did you think I paid for? Silence. I loaned her over $30,000 over the past 5 years. None of it repaid. I paid another $9,500 in direct wedding expenses. I wrote a $5,000 gift check. That's $45,900 total, Mom. Almost a year of my salary after taxes. I could hear her breathing, quick and shallow. So, when you say I sabotaged her wedding, what you mean is I stopped funding it. There's a difference. She never told us. Because she's been lying to everyone. Lying to you about having money, lying to her friends about me offering to pay for everything. Lying to vendors about who is financially responsible. I pulled up the screenshots. I have documentation, Mom. Every loan, every payment, every promise she made and broke. Would you like me to send it to you? That's not necessary. I think it is. Because right now you're calling me to lecture about sabotage while your daughter owes me enough money to buy a car. And instead of apologizing for how I was treated, you're defending her. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter. Don't I deserve consideration too? The line went quiet. Your father had to pay thousands yesterday to keep vendors from walking out. Money we didn't budget for. Did she also promise she'd pay you back? Or did she tell you I'd handle it? Silence. She said you'd handle it. That you'd always plan to cover those amounts. There it was. The final confirmation of Jessica's lie. Mom, I never agreed to cover vendor balances. I guaranteed deposits with the understanding Jessica would pay the remainder. That's her failure, not mine. So, we're just supposed to let vendors take legal action against her? No, you're supposed to let Jessica face the consequences of her choices. She's a married woman now. She's an adult. Stop protecting her from reality. She's still my daughter. So am I. But apparently that only matters for one of us. I ended the call. My father texted, "Your mother is very upset. This family is falling apart." I typed back, "This family fell apart when Jessica decided she could treat me poorly without consequences. I'm just the first person to stop pretending everything is fine." His response, "We raised you better than this." My reply, "You raised me to stand up for myself and not accept poor treatment. I'm doing exactly what you taught me. The problem is you expected me to make an exception for family." At noon, I received an email that changed everything. Subject line, Mitchell Clark Wedding Fraud Investigation. My chest tightened. Ms. Mitchell, I am Detective Sarah Williams with the Chicago PD Financial Crimes Division. A vendor reported concerns that someone may have used your name and identity to commit financial fraud. We would like to speak with you. I called immediately. Detective Williams met me at a coffee shop Monday morning. Elite Catering filed a police report. They claim someone using your name and email address entered into a contract for upgraded catering services. However, when they attempted to collect payment, they discovered the credit card authorization on file was fraudulent. An account number that didn't match any card issued in your name. My mouth went dry. I never authorized any credit card. That's what we suspected. The email address used was mitchell82@gmail. Is that your email? No, mine is audrey@gmail. She made a note. The IP address from the account creation traces back to a Starbucks in Lincoln Park. Does your sister live in that area? She did until recently. She showed me her tablet. This is the catering contract submitted with your forged signature. Can you confirm this isn't your signature? I looked at the loopy, exaggerated version of my name. That's not mine. Good. Elite Catering isn't the only vendor. We've now heard from 3 other companies reporting similar concerns. My stomach turned. Jessica was setting me up. Tell me about your relationship with your sister. Start from the beginning. I spent the next hour walking her through everything. The loans, the wedding planning, the escalating requests, the group chats, the seating arrangement. I showed her my documentation. When I finished, she looked at me. Ms. Mitchell, what you've described is a pattern of financial exploitation. Your sister has been systematically borrowing money with no intention of repayment. And when you began setting boundaries, she attempted to forge contracts in your name to force your financial responsibility. Can you prove that? The forensics team is analyzing the fake email account. If we can prove your sister created it and used it to defraud vendors, we have a case for identity theft and fraud. She paused. Do you want to press charges if we find evidence? The question hung in the air. Press charges against my own sister? If you have evidence she committed fraud, yes. I want to press charges. She nodded. I'd recommend you pull your credit report. If your sister was willing to forge contracts, she may have attempted to open credit accounts in your name. Left the coffee shop feeling simultaneously vindicated and nauseous. The credit check confirmed my fears. 3 hard inquiries on my credit report from the past month. All denied, fortunately, because the addresses didn't match. Jessica had been trying to steal my identity to fund her wedding. I forwarded it all to Detective Williams. Her response: "Thank you. This strengthens our case significantly. We'll be interviewing your sister and her husband tomorrow." That evening, my father called. "Audrey, the police contacted Jessica. They're accusing her of fraud. Did you report your own sister to the police?" "No, Dad. A vendor reported her when they discovered fraudulent contracts filed in my name. I'm cooperating with the investigation because I'm the victim of identity theft." "Identity theft? That's ridiculous. Jessica would never." "Dad, she forged my signature. She created a fake email address pretending to be me. She tried to open credit cards in my name. The police have evidence. This isn't me being vindictive. This is me protecting myself from actual crimes." "But she's your sister. Can't you just drop it?" "The vendor filed the report, not me. This is out of my hands now. Your mother is devastated." Then maybe Mom should have been more concerned about Jessica's behavior before it escalated to criminal fraud. He was quiet. "When did you become so cold?" "When my sister tried to frame me for $30,000 in fraudulent debt, and my family blamed me for defending myself." "I'm not cold, Dad. I'm finally warm enough to stop letting people walk all over me." I ended the call and blocked both my parents' numbers. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning, exactly 1 week after Jessica's wedding. Detective Williams called to inform me. We recovered her laptop with the fake email account still logged in. Browser history showing research on identity theft. Drafts of contracts she was preparing to send to additional vendors using your name. We also found a notebook with your personal information, social security number, mother's maiden name, date of birth. How did she get my social security number? She photographed your tax documents when she was at your apartment helping you move last year. I remembered that day. I'd thought it was sisterly kindness. It had been reconnaissance. She's been arrested and charged with identity theft, fraud, and forgery. Bail is set at $50,000. Jessica would be in jail until Ryan could come up with $5,000. The same amount I'd torn up in that check. The irony was almost poetic. My phone started ringing immediately. Family members calling to beg me to drop the charges. I didn't answer. Instead, I received a call from an unexpected source, Ryan's mother, Patricia. "Audrey, I need to speak with you about what's happening with Jessica." "Mrs. Clark, with all respect, I'm not discussing the legal case with anyone. I'm not calling about that. I'm calling because I've learned some things about my son's marriage that concern me, and I think you deserve to know." That got my attention. "Can we meet in person? There are documents I want to show you." We met at the same coffee shop. Patricia arrived with a briefcase, her expression grim. "Ryan confessed everything to me last night after Jessica was arrested. Your sister has been lying to him too. She told him you'd agreed to pay for most of the wedding. She showed him fake text messages where you allegedly offered to cover expenses." I scanned the documents. Fabricated. She catfished her own husband. Essentially, yes. She created an entire false narrative about your generosity to justify the expensive wedding. Patricia's hands trembled. Ryan is devastated. He thought he was marrying into a family that was supportive and kind. Instead, he finds out his wife is a fraudster who manipulated everyone. Is he staying with her? He filed for an annulment this morning. So Jessica would lose her husband along with everything else. Why are you telling me this? Because Ryan wants to testify against her. And because I wanted you to know that not everyone in this situation thinks you're the villain. What Jessica did to you is unconscionable." Patricia left. I sat there for a long time. My phone buzzed with an email from the Illinois Department of Corrections, inmate mail notification. Jessica had sent me a letter from jail. "Audrey, I know you hate me right now, but please listen. I never meant for things to go this far. I just wanted one perfect day. You have everything. I have nothing. This wedding was supposed to be my thing, my one chance to shine. I know I messed up with the credit cards and the fake emails. I panicked when you started pulling away financially. I never thought it would turn into this. Ryan's leaving me. Mom and Dad won't talk to me. My life is over, and it's all because I wanted one nice thing. Was that so wrong? Please drop the charges. I'm your sister. Doesn't that mean anything anymore? I read it twice, looking for any sign of real remorse. There was none, just self-pity and blame. I forwarded the email to Detective Williams, additional evidence of the defendant's mindset. The arraignment was on Thursday. Jessica appeared in an orange jumpsuit, her hair unwashed, makeup gone. She looked small and scared, nothing like the radiant bride. When the judge read the charges, she started crying. Her eyes found me in the gallery. She mouthed, "Please." I looked away. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. "Ms. Mitchell, will you be seeking restitution? Do you regret pressing charges?" I stopped and faced the cameras, my corporate media training kicking in. I haven't pressed charges. The state of Illinois prosecutes fraud independently. I'm simply cooperating with law enforcement after being the victim of identity theft. My sister made choices that had legal consequences. I hope this serves as a reminder that financial fraud is a crime regardless of who commits it. Professional. Factual. Devastating. The clip went viral. Chicago woman arrested for defrauding sister to fund luxury wedding became a trending story. Jessica's perfect wedding photos were plastered across news sites next to her mugshot. Her wedding hashtag, once full of congratulations, filled with comments about karma and justice. The internet was doing what I couldn't, making sure everyone knew exactly who Jessica really was. My mother finally broke her silence with a text that bypassed my block. "I hope you're satisfied. You've destroyed your sister's life over money. I'll never forgive you for this." I didn't respond, but I did send one final email to every family member who'd called me cold, vindictive, jealous, or cruel. The email attached every piece of documentation I'd compiled. Subject line: the truth about Jessica's wedding. The body was simple: I'm done defending myself against false accusations. Here's the documented evidence of what actually happened. Believe what you want, but don't contact me again unless it's to apologize. I sent it and closed my laptop. The only person who responded was my father. 3 hours later: "I'm sorry. We should have listened to you sooner. Your mother and I need time to process all of this." Time to process. Not an apology for their role in enabling Jessica, but it was something. 6 months later, I sat in a conference room at my company's headquarters, presenting a promotion proposal. My career had continued to flourish. I'd been promoted to senior marketing director with a $35,000 salary increase. The first thing I'd done was book a 2-week vacation to New Zealand, something I'd been putting off for years because Jessica always seemed to need emergency loans. Jessica had pleaded guilty to 1 count of identity theft and 2 counts of fraud as part of a plea deal. She received 2 years of probation, 200 hours of community service, and was ordered to pay $47,350 in restitution, every dollar she'd taken from me, plus the attempted fraudulent charges. The payments were set at $200 per month for the next 20 years. I'd never see most of that money, but that wasn't the point anymore. Her annulled marriage made news in local papers as a cautionary tale. She'd had to move back in with our parents, unable to afford her own place. According to my father, who I now spoke to monthly in brief, cordial conversations, Jessica was working 2 part-time jobs and attending court-mandated therapy. She'd lost most of her friends after the conviction. Her social media accounts were deleted. She'd gotten the one perfect day she'd wanted and lost everything else in the process. My mother still wasn't speaking to me. I'd stopped waiting for her to come around. Taylor and I were at dinner celebrating my promotion when she asked, "Do you ever regret how it all went down?" I considered it honestly. I regret that my sister turned out to be someone capable of that level of betrayal. I regret that my family chose enabling her over supporting me. But do I regret stopping it? No, not even a little. People at work were talking about it for weeks after the news coverage. Some of them thought you were harsh. Let them think that. The people who matter know the truth. My phone buzzed with an email. "Marie the florist, forwarded through the vendor network. Audrey, thought you'd want to know. Jessica Clark contacted me about doing flowers for an event. I declined and reported the contact to her probation officer as she's not supposed to be entering into contracts without oversight. The vendor community has blacklisted her completely. Thank you for warning us. Justice came in unexpected forms. That weekend, I received a letter via certified mail. Jessica's handwriting. Audrey, I know you hate me right now, but please listen. I never meant for things to go this far. I just wanted one perfect day. You have everything. I have nothing. This wedding was supposed to be my thing, my one chance to shine. I know I messed up with the credit cards and the fake emails. I panicked when you started pulling away financially. I never thought it would turn into this. Ryan's leaving me. Mom and Dad won't talk to me. My life is over, and it's all because I wanted one nice thing. Was that so wrong? Please drop the charges. I'm your sister. Doesn't that mean anything anymore? I put the letter away with all the other documentation. Maybe someday it would mean something. Today it was just words. 3 years later, I received a wedding invitation. My father was remarrying. He and my mother had divorced quietly 2 years prior. His fiancée was a kind woman named Patricia, yes, Ryan's mother. They'd bonded over their shared experience of watching their children's implosion and had slowly fallen in love. The invitation included a handwritten note. I know I don't deserve your attendance, but it would mean the world to me if you came. You were right about everything. I should have listened sooner. I should have protected you better. I'm trying to do better now. Love, Dad. I RSVP'd. Yes. +1. Taylor was always up for an event. The wedding was small, elegant, focused on what mattered. During the reception, my father pulled me aside. Jessica asked if you'd be here. I told her no, that I hadn't invited her. Is she doing okay? She's surviving. Working as a receptionist, living in a small apartment, paying you back monthly. She asks about you sometimes. He paused. She's dating someone new, a man who knows about her record and accepts it. She seems humbler, quieter. That's good. Patricia and I thought about inviting her, but we decided this day should be about moving forward, not looking back. He looked at me directly. I'm proud of you, Audrey. For standing up for yourself when no one else would. For refusing to be anyone's doormat. I should have taught Jessica the same lessons. It's not too late for her to learn them herself. No, he agreed. But she had to lose everything to start. As I watched my father dance with his new wife, I realized something had shifted. The anger that had sustained me through the legal battles and family drama had faded. I didn't hate Jessica anymore. I didn't miss her either. She'd simply become someone I used to know, someone whose choices had removed her from my life. And I was okay with that. My career continued to flourish. I'd been promoted twice more and was now leading the entire marketing division. The money Jessica had taken, which had once felt like such a devastating loss, was barely a blip in my current financial situation. I'd bought a house, traveled to 14 countries, built a life I was proud of. Jessica's monthly $200 payments came like clockwork, automatically deposited into an account I barely checked. After 5 years, she'd paid back $12,000 of the $47,350. At the current rate, she'd be paying me until she was 53 years old, a 20-year reminder that actions have consequences. On what would have been her 10th wedding anniversary, if the marriage hadn't been annulled after 12 days, I received one final letter from Jessica. Audrey, I'm writing this not because I expect a response, but because my therapist says I need to fully acknowledge the harm I caused. You'll never see this the way I do, but I need you to know what happened wasn't your fault. Not the investigation, not the arrest, not the conviction, not the ruined wedding or the annulment or the criminal record. You didn't do any of that to me. I did it to myself. I spent years blaming you for having boundaries, for refusing to fund my fantasies, for expecting me to be accountable. But those weren't character flaws. They were strength. I'm not the person I was at that wedding. That person was desperate, entitled, and willing to destroy the people who loved her to maintain an illusion. I hope I'm better now. I'm trying to be. You don't owe me forgiveness. You don't owe me a relationship. You don't owe me anything. You already gave me more chances than I deserved. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what I lost. And I'm sorry. Jessica. I put the letter away with all the others. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday the hurt would fade enough to consider rebuilding something. But today wasn't that day. And I was perfectly fine with it.